Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here rocking with me again for another video. This video is going to be slightly different from the previous videos that I've posted. I chose to do this video mainly because I feel that with everything that's been going on in the world, with the amount of uncertainty, with the amount of devastation, with the amount of people losing their jobs, people losing loved ones, people just not knowing what to do next, what the next move is. And I've been praying, especially this past week, and God's really been laying on my heart to share my testimony again about when I lost my mother 5 years ago, because that testimony was a testimony of staying strong, staying anchored in an uncertain time. So I did a video 3 years ago talking about my testimony. So I'm actually just gonna play that video again. I'm not gonna re-record it because I feel at that time it was very potent. And now 5 years later, since my mom has passed, although it's still very real, and although I miss her just as much, there's a little bit of distance in terms of 3 years ago. So I wanted to just play that video again for you. And I feel like, especially during this time, especially during this pandemic time, that this testimony will still resonate even today. Like I said, because so many people are going through hardship right now. So many people don't know what to do. So many people don't know what their next move is career-wise. They don't know what their industry is gonna look like on the other side of this pandemic. They don't know what their family is gonna look like. They don't know what their marriage is gonna look like. So many people are discovering different things about their spouses, about their children, about themselves. So many people's health are compromised. Finances are falling down the drain. People are just not knowing where to go, not sure what to do. So this time in my life, which was the most difficult time in my life, of losing my mom, who was my support, who was my anchor, who was my foundation, because I was dependent on her, and then that was taken away from me so suddenly. I feel like it relates to what so many people are experiencing now, where they had their job that they were dependent on, and then it was taken from them, or they had their family or a loved one that they were dependent on and it was taken away from them, or maybe they had their way of thinking that they relied on and it was shaken. A lot of shaking and moving is happening right now in this world. So God was telling me, share this testimony again, because somebody's gonna need to hear it in this uncertain time, that the only thing that's unshakable in a shakeable time is God and your faith in God. So when I play this video, I really hope that you can be blessed from it, and that your faith becomes encouraged and strengthened in this testimony. Be blessed. It's kind of like debating on if I wanted to share this video, because it's personal. A personal thing I went through, but I think it's important for somebody to hear it. This story and this testimony, because I know I'm not the only one that's ever gone through this. So essentially, basically, 2 years ago, 2015, I lost my mother. So it was me and my mom, my sister, were all living together. And me and my mom are very, very close, very close. And she passed away pretty suddenly. It's kind of unexpected. She had a brain hemorrhage. We don't know where it came from. All I know is just a couple weeks, or maybe a few months leading up to it, she was just having a lot of nosebleeds, and didn't know where it was coming from, and it wouldn't stop. Essentially, it wasn't a regular nosebleed. It wasn't dry air nosebleeds. She's just having nosebleeds. Either way, I don't want to get really into the details of it, but she essentially passed away from a brain hemorrhage. I remember I picked her up from work, and she was like, Mom, how's work? How's work? She's like, oh, thank God I got a chance to sit down because I'm super tired. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get to sit down. So I'm just like, okay, like, I knew she was, like, we knew something was up with her health. She's been going to doctors, and doctors been doing a lot of testing, but we didn't know to, like, what extent. So yeah, basically we drove home. She drove home, I said my good nights. Night, Mom. She said good nights, and that's it. Went to bed, and then, like, in the middle of the night, I was hearing snoring, and it wasn't like the typical snoring. It was really loud. At first I was hearing, like, someone, like, is that my mom snoring? Like, why is it so loud? Like, why is she snoring so loud? I kind of, like, brushed it off, but it kept going, like, and loud, and, like, it was getting louder. So I just went downstairs to see, like, is everything okay? And when I went downstairs, I saw her on the bathroom floor, and she was like, I don't even know the medical term, but basically she was like in a coma, I guess, but like, or she had a stroke, maybe that's the better way to say it. She had a stroke, and like she had the physical signs of someone that had a stroke or something. Again, I don't want to go into the details because it's still very emotional. But yeah, so I woke my sister up. I was like, oh my gosh, Mom's on the floor, like freaking out, call 911. So we called 911, and they came, rushed her to the hospital. I called my aunt, I called my pastor. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. My mom's unconscious. She's not, she was breathing at that point, but she's unconscious, unresponsive, the whole 9 yards. So they took her to the hospital. We were there, I think we waited like an hour, which felt like eternity. My other aunties came, because we were calling when my other aunties came to the hospital. And basically they came out, the doctors came out, and they're like, so, yeah, your mom's not gonna last. Like, she's gonna pass away in like 24 hours. I'm like, I don't even know. I can't even recollect. I don't even remember how I was feeling at that moment when they came and told me that. They're like, she's gonna pass away in 24 hours. I think the first thing I said was, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. That was like the first like automatic thing that came to my mouth. And so like I was praying, and like everyone was praying, and I was like shocked, and like nurses were trying to talk to me, and I was walking up and down the hospital, and like they were like trying to calm me down, and I was like, don't talk to me, don't kind of like, I was just, it was just a lot going on. Needless to say, she was moved to ICU, intensive care unit. She didn't pass away in 24 hours. But she was declared clinically brain dead. So clinically, she was declared brain dead. And we wanted to keep her on life support. So we we were fighting the hospital, because they said they have 3 doctors in there to test her. And all 3 doctors were saying, yeah, she's clinically brain dead. Now, during this whole process of her being in the hospital, before we got to the point where we're like, okay, we have to pull the plug, was 2 weeks. So essentially, she stayed alive in the 2 weeks, but yes, yeah.
Are you recording something?
Yeah.
Oh. Do you know where Aunt Johnny is?
Is she in her room?
Oh.
Anyways, so yeah, it took 2 weeks, and during the 2 weeks we had church members coming in praying, supporting us, calling every day. My friends calling every day, coming in, praying over her. But we have to come to the point where it's like, you know what, God, she's no longer in our hands. It's in your hands. If it's your will for her to go, if it's her time, then give us peace. Give me peace. That was my prayer. I'm like, God, if it's your will for you to take my mom from me, then I need to be at peace with this. Because if I can't be at peace with this, then you can't take her from me. So when I prayed that prayer, literally a peace came over me. And I just was like, all right, you know what? It might be her time. And it was very hard to realize that, yeah, this is going to be the last time I'm going to talk to my mom. That was very hard realization. But either way, anyways, the point of the story is, or this testimony is, through it all, because also during that time I was starting a new position at work. So I was going through monitoring at work and dealing with like funeral arrangements and going to like the hospital, and also it was my birthday coming up. So there was just a lot going on, and me and my sister, we moved out of our house. We stayed at my aunt, and my aunt lives in a condo. So there was 4 people in a condo, in a 2-bedroom condo. And then we had to deal with my house because we didn't want to stay in the house. It was just too weird to be in the house without, my mom there. So we couldn't stay in the house. So we stayed with my aunt. So during all this time, all this was going on, starting a new job. But can I tell you, no one at work knew what was going on because I came to work every single day with a smile. And I was still my happy-go-lucky myself. And it was only the few people that I opened up to, they were just like, but like, I don't get it. Like, how are you going through all this and you're still like so joyous? And all I could say was, God, I could not go through this unless it was God. And that's one thing I really love my mom for. And if I could talk to the parents or the guardians right now, if you don't give your children anything else in this world, give them a strong faith foundation. Because I grew up in the church, I grew up in the Word, I grew up on my mom's prayers and my auntie's prayers. Because I grew up in the church, and because my mom ensured that I valued having a relationship with God, she knew what she was doing, because she knows that there's gonna come times when trials, when life just hits you, and if you don't have something to hold on to when your whole world is shaking, you're gonna crumble. We're human beings. If you don't have something to hold on to you when your life is stripping and falling before your eyes, you're gonna crumble. For me, that was my faith with Jesus Christ. That was it. There was nothing else. I could not have gone through it unless I had Him. The strength that He gave me, the peace. Let me tell you, the peace that He gave me. Till this day, February 2017, I'm still dumbfounded at how the peace that I had through it all. Because that, I will tell you, was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. Okay, phone, thanks. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. Okay, burying my mother, and then all the other months that came up after that. The hardest thing, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would have my mom's funeral the weekend before I turned 25. Never thought that would ever happen, but it did. And sometimes life just throws stuff at you and you don't know where it's coming from. But that's why the Bible says to hold on to God, because when life shifts and when life moves, God doesn't move. He stands firm. You know, he's the anchor, he's the peace, he's the way maker, he's the provider. And I think, you know, I can't be more grateful because I had friends and family and a huge church support system that was there. I'm telling you, like, my mom's funeral was the most beautiful thing ever. When we had it at a funeral home, a beautiful funeral home, like the grounds looked like a beautiful like park. Like we just gave her the best because she deserved the best, you know. And the people that came to the funeral service were, the funeral homes were like, okay, we have to open up the doors for another room because there were so many people. There were so many people that came out. We had like 2 room space for the funeral. They had to open up the doors, so open up the walls to open another room to let more people in the room. Plus there was overflow, so not even everybody got into the funeral. There was about 200 plus people at the funeral, plus another 200 plus people that came just to the viewing, the support. And honestly, till this day, it still blows my mind what transpired. And you know, for a lot of people, this would destroy them. Losing their parents would destroy them. Because let me tell you, at work I have to talk to some people, and some people go through some stuff and they don't know how to deal with it. And some of the stuff that people go through are nothing. I don't want to trivialize what they're going through, but some of the stuff that people go through are nothing in comparison to what I had to go through, in a sense. But yet they're so shaken at the core, and you could tell they don't really have a base. They don't really have something to hold on to. They don't have something to look up to. They put all their trust in doctors. They put all their trust in lawyers. They put all their trust in their friends and their parents. But doctors, lawyers, their friends, and their parents, they're gonna fail you because they're human beings. You know what I'm saying? So, either way, my mom was like very much into fashion, kind of like where I got it from. And I really wanted to do something to honor her legacy. Now, a lot of people would take a tragedy as losing their parents or losing their child or losing someone close to them and just self-destruct. Don't know where to go. It takes them months, years to bounce back, to live some type of normal life again. For me, honestly, through it all, because I had that shot, like, I'm getting tongue-tied. I can't even say it. Because I was so rooted in my faith with Christ, I was still working on it, because I also had my other business with Riley and Rose during that time. I was still, you can ask my business partner Chantel, I was still doing stuff with my business from Riley and Rose, because I was still moving on like business is normal. Even though business wasn't usual, I was still flexing like business was usual, because I knew for a fact that this was not going to be the be all and end all of my life. My mom, she lived a good life. She raised me and my sister the best way she could. She gave us her all. She sacrificed, she deposited, and her legacy is going to live on through me. So I feel like I have to honor that. So that's where Shop Booney came in. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, Shop Booney, like why Shop Booney? Like that's an odd name." My mom, and when she was living back in Jamaica, her nickname in Jamaica was Booney. That's what people call it, Pat Boone. So I was just like, you know what? My mom loved fashion. I love fashion. I'm gonna build up, with the grace of God, with the help of God, I'm gonna build up a fashion empire in honor of my mom, Shop Booney. That's where it came from. So that's where I started Shop Booney last year in 2016. And you know, it was hard to get that started too. You know, and there's a Bible verse that says, what the enemy means for evil, God will turn around for good for those who love him. And that's so true. What Satan meant, or what, you know, the enemy meant to try to destroy me, to try to, you know, set me back, God turned it around. And he gave me favor, and he gave me ideas, wisdom, and knowledge of how I can turn that tragedy into something positive. And then you turn around again and use that experience to share with somebody else who might be able to find some inspiration, or find some hope, or take something from it, and realize that, yeah, you know what, I can go through this and I can do something. You know, I might have lost somebody, but I don't have to let that destroy me. I don't have to let that, you know, finish me. You don't have to, you know. So that's my story, guys. Yeah, if it wasn't for God, but God, praise him. Honestly, all jokes aside, guys, all jokes aside. But yeah, I thank you again for listening to my story. I would love for you to share with somebody. If you think you know somebody that could benefit from listening to this testimony, and just share. Especially this video. You know, out of all the videos that I've done, I'm gonna ask that you share this video, because somebody needs to hear this.